It was 6:45 a.m. in Austin when I opened the email that shattered my world. My 2-year-old son, Caleb, was happily smearing oatmeal on his tray, blissfully unaware that his father had just detonated our lives with a single message. The subject line reads simply, "Moving forward." I nearly dropped my coffee when I opened the attachment and saw the photo. Mark, my husband of 6 years, wrapped around a young brunette who couldn't have been older than 24. They were standing in front of our beachfront condo, the one we'd bought together last year, the place where we'd spent weekends dreaming about our foo. The condo is mine now. TV already moved in with Jessica. My lawyer will be sending over the divorce papers. Don't bother fighting it, the deed is in my name. My hands trembled as I placed my coffee mug down on the table, but not from shock. No, this wasn't fear. This was pure, unfiltered rage. Mark really thought he could just email me divorce papers and steal our vacation home, the one I had paid for with the profits from my business? He had no idea. I looked over at Caleb, still giggling as he clapped his sticky hands together. Then I turned my gaze to the framed wedding photo on the mantel, Mark and me, young and happy, believing we had. I took a deep breath, picked up my phone, and hovered over Mark's contact name for a moment before clicking block. Then I opened my email and typed 2 simple sentences in response. "Are you sure about that? Better check the paperwork carefully." I hit send, blocked his email, and turned back to my son with a smile. Mark had always underestimated me. He saw me as the supportive wife who had helped his career while growing my own business on the side. He probably thought I'd break down, maybe beg him to reconsider. But he had forgotten one very crucial thing about me. I didn't build a successful company by being naive about ProTech. Looking back, I should have seen this coming. The red flags had been there, flashing like neon signs, but I had been too busy managing a company and raising a toddler to put the pieces together. Mark had been making frequent work trips to the condo over the past 3 months, claiming he needed quiet time to focus on a big real estate deal. I'd built my company from scratch while supporting his career moves, but Mark always acted like my success was just a lucky break. When we met 7 years ago, I was already running a thriving e-commerce business. But Mark loved telling people how he'd helped me scale it. The condo had been my ID. Last week, Mark had been especially distant, always on his phone, always shutting his laptop when I walked into the room. When I asked about the real estate deal, he brushed me off, muttering something about me not understanding high-level finance. Funny I had. I picked up Caleb from his high chair and held him close, breathing in the scent of his baby shampoo. Mark thought he had won. He thought he could take what was mine and walk away unscathed. He was about to learn the hard way. Nobody plays me for a fool and gets away with it. Sweet baby scent. Caleb had Mark's eyes, but my determination, I could already see it in the way he tackled every new challenge. Looking at him now, my resolve hardened. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about protecting his future, too. I walked into my home office, Caleb balanced on my hip, and opened my laptop. Within minutes, I'd emailed my lawyer, attaching the documentation proving I had purchased the beachfront condo with my own money. Then, I pulled up the security camera feed from the property, another precaution Mark had known nothing about. The cameras had captured everything. Every visit. Every guest. Every betrayal. Jessica might have been basking in her supposed victory at my condo, but she had no idea she was starring in a video that would feature prominently in my divorce proceedings. My phone buzzed, a text from Rachel, my assistant. "Rachel, Mia, you need to see this." Attached was a link to Jessica's Instagram profile. My stomach twisted as I scrolled through post after post going back months, dozens of photos of her with Mark. Some were taken inside our bedroom at the condo. She was wearing my clothes, using my things. The latest post sent my blood boiling. Jessica, smiling smugly, flashing a massive diamond ring. My grandmother's ring. The one Mark and I had agreed would go to Caleb on his 18th birthday. I felt sick. This wasn't a recent affair. This had been going on for years. One photo from 8 months ago showed Jessica holding up a key to the condo, the caption reading, "Home sweet home with my love 2 hearts new chapter. Moving in together." While I had been up all night with a newborn, exhausted, and running my business, Mark had been playing house with a woman barely out of college. I scrolled through the photos again, checking the dates. Everything lined up perfectly with Mark's supposed work trips. Every late-night meeting, every weekend he claimed he needed to check on the condo. Lies. Every single moment a lie. My hands were shaking as I opened my banking app. And that's when the second blow hit. The joint account where I had been depositing money for Caleb's college fund? Empty. Every penny. Nearly $100,000 gone. Transferred out just yesterday to an account I didn't recognize. The rage I had felt earlier crystallized into something sharper. Something cold and calculating. I called my bank immediately. Then my lawyer. Within an hour, I had confirmation. Mark had been systematically moving money around for months, preparing for this. He had even tried to access my business accounts, but he had failed. Those, at least, were protected by ironclad contracts and separate banking arrangements. Rachel called while I was still on the phone with my lawyer. Rachel, Mia, there's more. She sent over a series of screenshots from Jessica's private Facebook page. I couldn't breathe as I read through the messages. Jessica had been bragging to her friends about landing a rich older man and how they were planning to take his boring wife for everything she was worth. There were even messages joking about how oblivious I was. Too busy with her little online shop to notice what was happening. A slow, dark smile spread across my face. Little did they know that little online shop had made me a millionaire 3 times over. I had intentionally kept that information private. Letting Mark believe my business was just successful, not wildly profitable. His ego had never allowed him to take a real look at my company's books, to understand exactly what I had built. I glanced at Caleb, now napping peacefully in his playpen. "Don't worry, baby boy," I whispered. Mommy was about to teach Daddy a lesson about underestimating women in business. The next few hours were a flurry of controlled chaos. My lawyer, Sarah, arrived just before noon. We sat in my home office reviewing documents while Rachel kept an eye on Caleb upstairs. "I've already frozen all your remaining joint accounts," Sarah said, flipping through the paperwork. "We'll be filing an emergency injunction to prevent Mark from touching any of your remaining assets. And based on the security footage and those social media posts, we're going to bury him in court." I exhaled. "What about the condo?" Sarah smirked. "He thinks he owns it. But remember that extra document you had your lawyer draft when you bought it?" I nodded. The one stating that while his name was on the deed for tax purposes, ownership fully reverted to me in the event of a divorce? Exactly. Which meant Mark had no legal right to the property. He had moved his little mistress into my condo, only to find out they were nothing more than squatters. Poetic. Then came the best part. Sarah's phone buzzed. She checked the screen and grinned. "Oh, this just keeps getting better. The bank just confirmed. They flagged the college fund withdrawal as fraudulent. The money is being reversed as we speak. Mark had tried to steal from his own son. But now, every dollar was coming back." I leaned back in my chair, finally allowing myself a deep breath. Mark thought he had won. He thought he had played me. He had no idea. Because I wasn't just going to take back what was mine. I was going to make sure he never forgot what happens when you try to screw over a woman who built herself from the ground up. Wouldn't take my email response well. "He's not as clever as he thinks," Sarah muttered, scanning the condo documentation. "The deed may be in his name, but we have ironclad proof that your business funds purchased the property. The transfer records, the contracts, even the emails where he admits it was your money, it's all here." I nodded and pulled up the security camera feeds on my laptop. "There's more. Look at this." The footage showed Mark and Jessica entering the condo at various times over the past few months, but what really caught Sarah's attention was from just 2 days ago. Mark was carrying box after box of valuables out of the house, including several pieces of art I had purchased through my company. "That's attempted theft of business assets," Sarah said, making notes. "The art collection was bought through your company for tax purposes. We have the documentation to prove it." Just then, my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I put it on speaker. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" Mark's voice was sharp, angry. "Check your business email, Mia. My lawyers have been busy too." I opened my inbox and felt my stomach drop. Mark's lawyers had filed an emergency petition claiming that my business had been built using his expertise and connections. They were demanding a full audit and temporary control of my company's accounts during the divorce proceedings. You'd really try to take my company? I kept my voice steady, even as my heart raced. The company I built before I even met you? You built? He laughed coldly. Who do you think gave you all those corporate contacts? Who introduced you to the right people? Face it, Mia, you'd be nothing without me. Jessica understands that. She knows how to be grateful. I muted the phone and turned to Sarah. She was already typing furiously on her laptop. Give me 1 minute, she said, holding up a finger. I unmuted the phone, buying time. Think carefully about what you're doing, Mark. Oh, I have, he sneered. And my lawyers will be in touch about Caleb, too. You're too busy with your precious business to be a proper mother. Jessica's great with kids. She used to be a nanny. The threat to take my son made my blood run cold. Before I could respond, Sarah slid her laptop toward me. On the screen was an old email from 3 years ago, one Mark had sent to a friend. She won't listen to my business advice at all. Says she doesn't need my help. And she's right. Her company's worth more than my annual salary now. It's embarrassing. A slow smile spread across my face. I unmuted the phone. Mark, I just sent something to your lawyer. You might want to check with him before making any more threats about my company. A pause. What are you talking about? Let's just say your email archives aren't as private as you thought. Call off your lawyers, or the next email I send will be to your boss. I wonder how he'd feel about all those corporate connections you claim to have given me. Silence. Then click. Sarah kept combing through Mark's old emails while I leaned back, exhaling. That was one fire handled, but I knew better than to think Mark would give up that easily. The door burst open and Rachel rushed in, her face pale. Mia, you need to see this. She thrust her tablet in front of me. On the screen was a draft press release from Mark's company announcing his promotion to Chief Financial Officer, effective next month. Suddenly, it all clicked into place. The timing of his affair with Jessica, the calculated moves with our accounts, the aggressive legal strategy. It wasn't just about leaving me. He was cleaning house before his big promotion, trying to secure assets and minimize what he'd lose in the divorce. There's more, Rachel said, swiping to another document. Jessica wasn't just some random young mistress. Random girlfriend. She was the CEO's niece. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Mark hadn't just fallen for some young, impressionable woman. He had strategically orchestrated a relationship with the CEO's niece to secure his promotion. The beachfront condo, the stolen money, even the threats about Caleb, it had all been part of his plan to start his new life as CFO with his well-connected young fiancé. Sarah looked up from her laptop, her face grim. Mia, I found something else. I braced myself. What is it? The company merger Mark's been working on? It involves one of your biggest business competitors. If he becomes CFO, he'll have access to information that could seriously damage your company. My hands curled into fists. Mark wasn't just trying to hurt me, he was positioning himself to destroy everything I had built. I thought about all those nights he had spent in his home office, claiming to be working on merger documents. Had he been going through my business files instead? Check my home network activity, I told Rachel. Focus on any attempts to access my business servers. While Rachel worked, Sarah made another discovery. Look at these emails between Mark and Jessica from 6 months ago. I scanned the screen, my stomach twisting. They had been planning this before Caleb was even walking. Jessica had written, "Once you're CFO, we can use insider information to push Mia's company out of the market. Uncle Robert says he'll help." I felt sick. While I had been up at night feeding our newborn, exhausted but pushing through to grow my business, they had been plotting against me. But their arrogance had made them sloppy. They had left a trail of evidence that could sink not just Mark's promotion, but the CEO's reputation as well. Rachel's voice cut through my thoughts. Found it. Multiple attempts to access your business servers from Mark's laptop. He didn't get through your security, but he tried. Sarah's eyes darkened. That's corporate espionage. I stood up and walked to the window, watching Caleb play in his playpen with his favorite stuffed elephant. Mark thought he was so clever, using his relationship with Jessica to secure his future. But he had forgotten the most important lesson in business. Never underestimate your opponent. Sarah, I turned back to my lawyer. Draft an email to the company's board of directors. Include evidence of Mark's attempted corporate espionage and the CEO's involvement in using insider information to target a competitor. Attach the security footage of Mark stealing business assets from the condo. Rachel looked up. What about Jessica? I smiled grimly. Oh, I think the board will be very interested in how their CEO used a family member to help orchestrate corporate espionage. Don't you? Just as we were preparing to send the email to the board, my phone buzzed with an alert. A motion detection notification from the beachfront condo's security system. Mark was back. And he wasn't alone. Not only was Jessica with him, but so was her uncle, Robert, the CEO. I switched to the live security feed. They were carrying boxes into the house. More of my belongings, no doubt. Wait, I told Sarah, watching the screen. Let's see what they're doing first. Through the security cameras, we had a perfect view of the living room. And the audio was crystal clear, another feature Mark knew nothing about. They were celebrating. Champagne glasses in hand. Robert raised his glass. To the future CFO. Mark smirked. And to my beautiful fiancé, who helped make it all happen. Mia has no idea what's coming, Robert chuckled. Mark laughed. Tomorrow morning, the board announces my promotion. By the afternoon, our legal team will have control of her company's accounts for audit purposes. Within a month, her business will be worthless. Jessica giggled. And the best part? She thinks the condo is her biggest problem. Mark grinned. Wait until she finds out about the offshore accounts. I froze. Offshore what? Rachel, I said slowly, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. What offshore accounts? Rachel's fingers flew across her keyboard. A moment later, her face darkened. Found them, she whispered. Mark had been laundering money. And now, I had proof. Funneling money from our joint accounts into offshore holdings for months. Not just Caleb's college fund, Mark had somehow managed to divert nearly $300,000. This was bigger than I had thought. Mark hadn't just been planning to leave me, he had been systematically stealing from our family for months. The beachfront condo drama was just a distraction from his real scheme. But then Robert said something that made my blood run cold. Once Mia's company tanks, our merger goes through smoothly. Her market share will be split between our subsidiaries, and that troublesome ethical business model of hers will be nothing but a memory. I felt the air leave my lungs. This wasn't just about Mark's promotion. This wasn't just about his affair. They wanted to destroy everything I had built because it threatened their way of doing business. My company wasn't just successful, it was disrupting their entire industry with our commitment to sustainable practices and fair labor. They weren't just trying to ruin me. They were trying to bury everything I stood for. I turned to Sarah, my voice steady. Send the email. She nodded, fingers poised over the keyboard. But first, I added, attach one more thing. Access the backup server. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Password? I smirked. Caleb's birthday. A second later, she gasped as the file popped open. Years of documentation. Years of questionable practices at Mark's company, evidence I had gathered while managing his investment portfolio. I had kept it as insurance, never thinking I'd actually need it. Rachel, Sarah breathed, this is enough to destroy all of them. I exhaled. Good. Rachel suddenly shot up from her desk, eyes locked on her screen. Mia, she said, voice sharp. Mark just tried to access our company servers again from the condo. I turned back to the security feed. There he was, walking into my home office. Sitting at my desk. Probably trying to hack into my business accounts again. But this time, our IT team had set a trap. They had created a false portal, a decoy that would make Mark think he was succeeding. Let him in, I told Rachel. She hesitated. Are you sure? I nodded, a slow smile creeping across my face. Let him think he's won. Because in about 10 minutes, that board email was going out. And their whole house of cards was about to come crashing down. Sarah looked up from her laptop. The email is ready. I took one last look at the security feed. Mark, Jessica, and Robert were still celebrating their imaginary victory. I turned back to Sarah. Do it. The response was faster than I expected. Within minutes of Sarah sending the email, Robert's phone rang. Through the security feed, we watched his face turn ashen as he listened to what I assumed was the board's immediate reaction. What do you mean, emergency meeting? He shouted into the phone. Who sent what evidence? Mark grabbed his own phone, presumably checking his email. The color drained from his face. The servers, she knew. Mia knew I was trying to access them. I leaned toward Sarah, whispering, "It gets better. Wait for it." Right on cue, Jessica's phone started blowing up with notifications. Someone had anonymously sent her private Facebook messages to every board member. The ones where she bragged about helping Mark steal corporate information. The security cameras caught the exact moment their celebration turned to panic. Robert was screaming into his phone. Mark was frantically trying to close his laptop. Jessica was in tears, mascara running down her face. And then, the cherry on top. Red and blue flashing lights. Police cars pulling up to the condo. Turns out corporate espionage and financial fraud are serious crimes. Who knew? I picked up Caleb and held him close as we watched through the cameras. See that, baby boy? I whispered. That's what happens when people underestimate your mommy. The last thing I saw before the feed cut off? Mark being let out in handcuffs, still shouting about how the house was his. The fallout was spectacular. Within 24 hours, Mark and Robert were both fired. The board launched an internal investigation that sent the company's stock plummeting. Jessica deleted all her social media accounts, but it was too late. The scandal was everywhere. By the end of the week, the merger was canceled. Mark's offshore accounts were frozen. And the beachfront condo? Legally mine. Every single thing he thought he could steal, I took it all back. With interest. Even more than I'd known. Not just the plot against my company, but years of fraudulent practices. Jessica's involvement in corporate espionage destroyed her budding influence and career. Last I heard, she had moved back in with her parents in Ohio. The offshore accounts? Frozen and investigated. Every single penny Mark had stolen was returned, with interest. And the beachfront condo? Turns out, attempting to steal company assets is a great way to lose any claim to property. The deed was transferred to my name, where it should have been all along. Mark? He tried to apologize. Tried to explain himself in lengthy emails about how he had lost himself, how he had been seduced by power and a younger woman. I never responded. The divorce papers were clear. He lost everything he tried to steal, and then some. The evidence of his corporate espionage meant he would never work in finance again. As for me, my company's ethical business model attracted even more investors after the scandal. We expanded into new markets, dominating areas that Mark's former company once controlled. Our reputation for integrity drew in customers who had lost faith in traditional corporations. And now, Caleb and I spend weekends at the condo, making new memories. Sometimes, when I'm sitting on the deck, watching him play, I think about Mark's smug email with that photo. He thought he was announcing his victory. But he was really just documenting the beginning of his downfall. I kept that email, by the way. It's framed in my office. A reminder to never underestimate a woman who's built something worth protecting. I built something from the ground up, something no one, not even the man I once trusted, could take from me. Mark thought he could betray me, steal from me, and walk away unscathed. But he forgot who he was dealing with. He forgot that I am a woman who fights back. A woman who protects what's hers. A woman who refuses to be anyone's stepping stone. And now, I want to hear from you. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or counted out, tell me your story. Drop a comment below and let's talk about how we rise after being knocked down. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have fought back the same way or taken a different route? And most importantly, what lessons did you take from this? Because here's what I know. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. If there's one piece of advice I can give, it's this. Protect what you build. Whether it's a business, a career, a dream, or your peace, guard it fiercely. Don't let anyone make you believe you're only successful because of them. Don't let anyone steal your hard work out from under you. And never, ever let betrayal break you. I want this to be a space for strength, resilience, and empowerment. So let's talk. Let's share. Let's support each other. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that revenge is best served with success.